actually the story of our escape from Hungary during the revolution in 1956. We were really sort of refugee deluxe. The world was very impressed with what the Hungarians have done in their uprising against the Soviet Union. So we were treated with very differently from the way that refugees are treated today, unfortunately very differently from the way we treat asylum seekers. So my experience as a refugee wasn't a horrible experience, but all the same I experienced, and especially my parents experienced, what it means to be in limbo. No future, no past. You don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know who is going to be willing to take you. And you just spend years, months, just sitting around and waiting. Is some country going to accept us? We were finally able to go to the United States. But this feeling of being in limbo, not belonging anywhere, not knowing what tomorrow will bring is a horrific feeling. I was so terribly moved by the news report that I heard before about the people in Greece believing that there is a future, and I hope with all my heart that there really will be a future for them.
And you've of course become a strong advocate against Israel's policies, your new home towards the African asylum seekers that live here in Israel. Talk us through that.
Well, I really feel that the issue of asylum seekers is something that should interest all decent human beings. But I think that there is a special need for us in Israel to be sensitive, compassionate. We're refugees. We're a nation of refugees. Refugees don't deport refugees. And the thought that we could deport them to uncertainty, possibly to death, which was the threat hanging over their heads a year ago, was something unbearable to me. I felt that my country, which acts in my name, will not do such a thing. And I felt that I really had to devote all my time, energy, whatever I could do to try to stop this horror from happening. And to some degree, I feel that maybe this, in fact, succeeded. Not because of me, but because of the action of so many people, of whom I was one.
And being a Holocaust survivor, of course, Israel became a place of salvage and of refuge for Jewish people who had fled from the Holocaust. Do you understand the argument made by some in the Israeli government that the Jewish majority of Israel needs to be maintained, and that's the reason for, I suppose, having these harsher asylum seeker policies and the labelling of these people as so-called infiltrators?
No, I reject that totally. I see that as racism. I see that as the hatred of the other. To me, being Jewish means being open to the world, being compassionate, being a safe haven for all those who need a safe haven. That's what it means to me to be a Jew.
So where do you see the disconnect between that and this being the Jewish homeland, the Jewish state, and the policies that you were standing up against when it comes to the Israeli government's policies towards asylum seekers?
Well, I see the disconnect, unfortunately, all around me. There is such a thing as Jewish ethics, and I don't see it in practice, not in the daily life around us. But what I want to say is that as much as I don't trust our leaders, not what they were planning to do to the asylum seekers, I had great joy in seeing that the people are so much better than the leaders. I was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support for the asylum seekers. Tens of thousands of people were pouring out on the street week after week to try to protect them, to try to keep them from being expelled, from being deported. And that is a great source of comfort. My people are better than my leaders.
How are you reflecting on the world refugee crisis today and attitudes towards asylum seekers, particularly being Holocaust Remembrance Day?
I think that, apparently there are something like 70 million refugees right now in the world, which is an immense problem that the world, the human family, has to approach with intelligence, but also sensitivity and compassion. And if we see all of these people as human beings like ourselves who need help, then we will have to come up with a solution that's somehow doable, workable. But first of all, we need compassion.
And just finally, talk us through...
And I think we need to look at them as human... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Continue.
No, I was going to say that I think tragedies, horrors like the Holocaust happen when people can look at other human beings as being not human on the same level as they are. Those refugees are human like I am. They want what I want. They need what I need. And I need to do all that I can to help them get it. And I think that needs to be the attitude of everybody.